first off, tell us your name and who you are and where you're from so we can have that on the video here.
Okay. Thank you so much. My name is Alfred Sigo. I'm the founder and the CEO of a youth network called Pan Youth Network. I come from Kenya, a city called Mombasa, and I was brought up in one of the largest informal settlements called Bangladesh. That's a slum. It was a home to more than 45,000 households. And with a low social income, no health facility within the vicinity, less water, no piped water in the community, but also issues around garbage and teenage pregnancy was high while I was growing up.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here and doing this. We appreciate it. So a lot of these answers will be used for our students to better understand how children develop and how their communities support that in other parts of the world, right? So our class is focused on child development. And because we have our kind of local experience, we want to be able to compare that to other experiences of children in other parts of the world. Okay.
Yeah.
In a similar way to the way our class runs, we tend to use ourselves as a subject to study because it's more personal and you can better understand it than what's in a book, right? So we still use the book information, but we focus on ourselves and reflecting on what the theories about child development mean in our own experiences. So that's why a lot of these questions are about you.
Yeah.
And I know you're an educator, you know a lot about children and how they grow and develop as well. So feel free to add other comments from your experiences doing that too. Yeah. Okay, so the first question is, tell me about your childhood growing up in Kenya.
Well, I was brought up in the largest slum called Bangladesh.
Right.
And my childhood experience was a mixture of both good and bad because we had no... within the community, we had no community space for children, but we also only had one community school that had more than 60 children in one class. And also while growing up, we had to walk a distance to go and fetch drinking water for our day-to-day. Yeah, and most of the time we spend either playing in the field, specifically playing football that here you guys call soccer. And also engaging just in other small games for children. And that one was my experience. And also on the bad side is that I grew up seeing so many children either getting accidents because we also live in one of the main roads. Yeah, so it was an experience of both good and bad. But we also had good times playing together up to late hours. Yes.
Okay. It's interesting when kids are not given a lot of resources, they still find a way to play, right?
Yeah.
No matter what. So who were adults that had a major influence in your life when you were young?
Well, I think the adults that had a lot of influence in my life were, first of all, my parents, both mother and father. But I also had a lot of influence from the teachers who are teaching me either in kindergarten or in primary school because they were most of the time would spend time in school from 8 to 4. But we also had people like religious leaders. My pastor had a very important aspect in my life. And lastly, my coach, my football coach, who was instrumental in my after-school engagement. So those are some of the people who are influential in my life, but also I think we grew up listening to a lot of local music, so local artists had also a lot of big influence in what I could listen to and how I could react to situations.
Okay, so art was a big influence as well, and the extracurriculars is something that stands out to you. Football, right? So is football all the way through?
Yes, I was able to do football, a bit of what do you call this? Volleyball.
Okay.
But I also was into what do we call this? Drama.
Oh, okay.
And music.
Right. Yeah.
I will spend most of my time either doing that in school and even after school.
Okay.
We would actually try and engage ourselves in doing some drama. Yeah.
Yeah, performing arts. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. Do you think the children you work with have a similar experience to what you experienced as a kid?
Well, I think a lot have changed since the years when I was a child. And these days, at least, we've seen that there is a community youth space, safe space for children to come and play, but to also come and access books. So I can generally say that their influence is almost similar, but a couple of things have changed. One of them being uh, availability of books, but also availability of the internet.
Yeah, right.
That is also influencing how the children play. Because for us, or for me when I was growing up, most of the things that influenced me was what I see and what I learn. But these days, even a toddler will have access to either the parent's phone to check on a couple of things or to do some basic research. So the children now are much more exposed to other things and also to other parts of the world as compared to me. Yes, because for me it was just either for me to know about the world, I can either read a book or read a newspaper or even look at the global map. But as it stands today, the internet have made things easy for these young children. But again, the internet is not moderated, so they are exposed to both bad and good things.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting because that's the same everywhere, right? That now there's so much access to information, and it's a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right? I was just talking with someone about this yesterday, and she's a teacher, and she said that she finds that kids are not sure what's real and what's not on there, right? That's a whole new skill that they're having to learn is, what am I looking at? Is this real information, or is this something fake? Is this made up? And what do I put value in that I see on the internet? It's because anybody can put things, right? So it's not necessarily real or based on facts. It's always, there's all kinds of stuff on there. So it's a whole new challenge for us, right?
Yeah, it's actually a very big challenge, and I think we as an institution that works with the children and youth, we've always also been trying to see how do we make internet safe for children. So we've been engaging them in different safe internet workshops, but also engaging decision makers on putting up laws that will make sure that the internet is safe for children, either in school or at home. But we've also been engaging parents on availing the internet to the children and making sure that they monitor when such happens.
Right. Yeah, that's very important. Okay. Let's see. The next question is, what resources were most important to your growth and development when you were young?
Number one for me, I think, was the sporting and the art component. It built my self-esteem to be able to be speaking in front of people, but also to be able to participate more in class. Because for me now, engaging and discussing and talking was much more easier. So the plays, the acting, and also just engaging in sports also helped enhance my leadership skills. How I should respond to situations, how I should also communicate to others. I think that one was a big component. The other thing that also influenced my growth were the different children books that I read. Especially the children picture books that I read were also very critical in my growth. And lastly, the availability of different competition for schools, whereby every time there is a drama festival, there is a music festival, gave me an opportunity not only to learn from the people who I was with class, but to learn from other people outside my school, to see what's the difference between those who are in my school and those who are not in my school, but also to try and pick what I could pick and grow with it. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, I like to hear that people have that experience with extracurricular activities, because I think a lot of schools ignore them or don't put as much emphasis on them. But to hear someone like you say that was what made you grow in your leadership. And now you're CEO of an organization, you run these things. It's like that leadership came from those experiences, right? So
actually, it came from there, and I think I was among the few club leaders at a very young age. As far as I was in grade four, I think I was already a leader in one of the clubs, but also being nominated as one of the school prefects, our monitors, also I think had a very influential way of mentoring me into the kind of leader I am, but also in giving me the self-esteem that I can lead.
Yeah.
Showing me that, okay, so it's not that hard. You will always make mistakes as you grow, but you can always get there.
Right. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Okay. So let's see, where do we leave off here? So I think the next one is, what do you think children in your community need most to grow up safe and healthy?
My number one thing would be both in school and out of school activities. So the schools need to be safe environment for children, where they can play, but also where they can learn, but also play. And I think teachers need to ensure that they respect the timetable by ensuring that if it's time for curriculum, then they have an opportunity to do the things that they are required to do. If it's time for class, they need to do that. But the second thing is that we need to have more community spaces, more community children's safe spaces, whereby over the weekend or after school, children can play, but can also learn from. Like right now, for a family to afford a computer is so hard. But if we have a space whereby they can go and learn from that, and also play with the gadgets, then it will give them the confidence to understand that they can still learn how to use a computer at a very young age.
Right.
Another thing is the promotion of non-school activities, like playing football, being in the theater, being in the arts, but also engaging in community activities, hands-on. Let the children plant trees, let the children participate in cleanups, let the children participate in climate action. Those are very important aspects of building their self-esteem, but also developing their their life to participate in day-to-day activities within the communities they come from. And it will also help them always co-create solutions that can work within the community.
Right. You want them to develop those leadership skills so that when they become adults, they care about those things and they know that they can have an impact on it.
Yeah, right? It's so important because if you nurture that at a tender age, then as somebody is growing up, they realize, okay, this should be like my day-to-day life. I should try to engage on such things. And they also learn that even if I'll be an adult, I should learn to take care of trees. I should learn to take care of my community. I shouldn't be that young person who will always be in the bus and throw a plastic bottle outside.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's important. Thank you. Okay. The next question is, what do most kids in your community care about, or what seems important to them?
Okay, interesting question. So, so most of the children in my community love football. That is soccer. And most of the time, most of their free time, they'll always engage in that. What they also care about is the family members they come from, by just ensuring that the families are safe, but also that they are able to go back home and meet their parents and meet their relatives. That one really means a lot to them. But lastly, I think children also care about their life and specifically them being in a safe environment whereby they are not violated either sexually or physically, but also they are given an opportunity to explore whatever they want. And in that context, I think we've seen most children visiting our community space to just come and play with dolls, to come and draw and do art, to come and draw pictures within the space, but to also participate in community events those who are dancers, those who are singers,
Great.
those who can do acrobatics will always participate in that.
Okay.
And to show that that means a lot to them. If the event was to begin in the afternoon, the children will be there by as early as 10 in the morning.
They want to be there and get their spot. Right?
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, that's great. Okay. So the next question is, what are some positive extracurricular activities? You already talked about this a little bit. Some positive extracurricular activities or pastimes children in your community engage in.
Sports.
Yeah.
Art. And in the sport context, I think basketball, volleyball, handball, and football are the most key sports that they play, and a little bit of field event, that is running, athletics, and so on.
Okay.
But also, other children like doing what we call molding with clay.
Yeah. Okay.
So it is something that also interests most of them, and they'll always be ready to engage. Drawing is another important aspect that the children will love. And then lastly, there is the household games, whereby how to cook.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's very typical to see children, especially girls, having the small cooking equipment.
Right. They have the fake kitchens and they pretend to play. Yeah.
So to cook for girls, I think it's something that stands out. And then to skip rope. Yeah, it's also another thing that girls will always prefer to do. And I've seen lately also interest in a little bit of some robotic and STEM, whereby they will always want to co-create things with their hands, make a fake car, make a fake drone.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. All right. So the next question is, what are some barriers or problems that you see in your community which impact children and their growth or development?
Number one for me is abuse of children.
Okay.
It's so huge, and it comes in different formats. It can either come from sexual abuse, and that one it can either come from the neighbor, and at times even close family members like uncles and brothers within the community setup. The other thing is parental negligence, whereby not very many parents are keen to look at how their children perform in school, what the children eat, because I know I've seen of situations whereby children they only eat 1 meal in a day. So again, negligence from parents, I think it's another aspect. The other aspect, I think, a challenge that children are facing is what do you call it? Not having equal opportunities across board, especially those coming from the informal settlements or informal schools, and those coming from better schools have better access, while these others will always have a child growing without seeing a science lab, and then they're expected to sit the same exams with the others at the other end. And then the last challenge for me, I think, will be also diseases. We've seen we've actually had cases of very many children who are born either with HIV, and now they're growing up. Stigma from the community, stigma from they themselves, because there's personal stigma, then there is stigma because I was born with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And already people know that the parent had HIV. Maybe the parent who didn't go through PMTCT. So obviously the child is HIV positive. So they'll always find themselves excluded. Then also lastly, children living with disability. It's a big challenge because no access roads, like no moving equipment. So most of the time you'll find that they will always just be at home.
So the real challenge with getting them to school settings or community centers because of that equipment.
Yeah,
needed.
the
Yeah.
equipment, and also even if they have the bicycle,
Mm-hmm.
and there are no friendly roads
Mm.
for persons living with disability.
Okay.
There, in most government places, there are no, what do we call this, uh, pathways
Right.
for the
Like ramps and
yeah
easy
ramps.
access
Yeah,
and things. Okay. Wow. Yeah, that is a huge challenge. I know that's a, and it's interesting because I think we take that for granted here, right? We don't even think about it, but it actually hasn't been that long that we've had that as a law here either. That only a few decades ago it was. No, it was the same that people couldn't get into buildings or couldn't get into schools or couldn't go certain places. So that's interesting. Well, hopefully some of those things become a priority soon, right? Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So the next question is, what do you think most parents want for their children in your community?
Well, I think most parents want growth of their children,
Mm-hmm.
and in that context, either their children to perform well in school,
Mm-hmm.
their children to have what do we call this? The white collar jobs, like you'll be a doctor, you'll be a teacher, you'll be an engineer, you'll be a pilot. So most parents really want progress of their children, and also they want to see their children prosper in whatever they are engaged in. Something else, I think most parents also want to see a lot of discipline in their children, and sometimes because they want discipline, they end up even suppressing the children.
A little too much. Yeah.
Yeah. So even the child grows up not really able to speak out his mind because just keep quiet.
Right.
Yeah. Again, most parents, I think, want their children engage in positive activities and engagement. And lastly, some parents will also want to see their children provide for them, especially the elderly.
Right.
Hoping that I am teaching you so that you get to provide for me in future. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Same here. I wish I had brothers and sisters because I'm the only one.
Oh,
so now my parents are like, you better step up, right?
Yeah. What's wrong with you?
It's like I gotta take care of all of them by myself. Yeah. Yeah. That's something I think is pretty universal.
Yeah.
Our students are hopefully seeing now the universality of those same things that all parents really want for their kids, right? You want them to find some success in a career, you want them to do well in school, and then you want them to be able to take care of you when you're not able to take care of them anymore, right? Yeah. Thank you. All right. So the next question is, what psychological or social supports there's a typo there, I didn't mean that, are available for children in your community, and how do they access them?
Well, one of the social engagement that we have is that we run different programs for children, and specifically play program whereby we have like a program called Edu Sports, whereby it's education for sports. So as they play the sports, we engage them in life skills sessions. Right. So we've trained coaches and community coaches to be offering them life skills session on the field. The others are available opportunities is referral for health services and also other non-medical services to our youth friendly centers that exist for children. But also we have a after school program that is always engaging them through the community library in the community. We also have seen an increase in engaging children in sports as a way of reducing mental health amongst them.
Right.
The other thing, I think there is also a bit of religion, religious spaces that the children are engaged to also nourish their spirituality as part of psychosocial support. But we've also seen a nutritional support for children, whereby those who are not really as per the standards, we always get some nutritional package for them to use on their day to day.
Okay.
Yeah. Something else, I think they've also been a lot of government sponsorship in terms of either books, uniform for schools, but also we've seen government also coming in to sponsor games for children as part of the building for them to grow mentally but also physically. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. The last question here then is, what do you think might be unique experiences for youth in your community compared to other parts of the world or other cultures?
Well, for me, I think one of the most unique thing for our youth is that they're able to do things that are done internationally in their own small way. And in that context, I'll just look at our youths have been engaged in lately in building robotic programs, doing a bit of coding.
Great.
In a very small way. I think also our youths are into sports and art. That is a very unique thing that they uphold, and they can always do it to the maximum of their knowledge. Another unique thing is the discipline. Sometimes it looks suppressive, but I think most of our youth will only speak when they are given an opportunity to speak.
Okay.
They are not like the liberal youths who I've interacted with here, who will always ask or tell you off if they feel like. Yeah. So those are the things. And then also our youths are good at co-creating hands-on things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Building small items from clay, from boxes, from torn clothes, creating clothes from reused clothes.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, designing things from designing clothes from other clothes. So we've seen that. Then lastly, I think also about beauty. We've seen our youths coming out to be good makeup artists, to be good people, to be able to pleat different styles for the hair, or shave different style of the hair. Yeah, and I think those are some of the unique things. And lately, I've also seen the rise of youths participating in filmmaking.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
A lot of creativity, it sounds like. Right?
Yeah, a lot of creativity. Yeah.
That's great. It's interesting that you talk about the reusable materials and stuff like that. So it's if they grow up in a community where that's a value and that's something they see happen, and they're using it now in a creative way to co-create and do new things together, that's really a beautiful thing that's happening. Whereas here we're trying to constantly get people to reuse things. Like just, we're very wasteful in our culture. And so that's something that is hard to get across to young people here. And so I think it would be great if American children could see that process take place, because
including plastics.
Yes.
They use plastic to co-create other things.
Yeah. Wow, yeah. See, that's so important. And there's a lot of very unique little stores or little businesses that are here in the LA area that are trying to emphasize reusing things like jars and plastics and stuff. So, but it's not very common yet, right? Yeah. There's like in my neighborhood, there's a little shop that has a place where you can refill soap or, household items and things like that. But it's very rare, right? Our kids grow up seeing a lot of waste happen. And so for them to see how other kids are actually having fun with that would be really exciting, I think. Not just for, obviously for ecological reasons for the planet, right? But also just because it's fun, right? They're being creative with what they have available.
Yeah, and I think another thing that I was almost slightly forgetting is youths are also into small startups.
Okay.
We've seen different startups come out from the youth in terms of small businesses, in terms of innovating different items that act as solutions to some of the challenges that we have.
Okay.
Yeah, and also participating just in climate action activities.
That's great.
Planting more trees,
Mm-hmm.
but also taking care of the trees.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. It's really exciting to hear about young people being innovative and becoming entrepreneurs and using that to help their community. So thank you so much for sharing about that.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else you want to add that you think would be valuable to our students to learn?
Well, I think I'll just add one thing. I think the youths from Kenya, Mombasa, where I come from, they're also unique in their own way. There are others who are smarter and others, of course, who are not as smart as we would want. But they are willing to learn and co-create solutions with their colleagues across board. So it should be interesting for them to learn from others, but for others also to learn from the youth that we work with.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. Well, I appreciate your time, and I'm going to end that.